Welcome to Dead by Daylight Review. It's been a while. It really has. I wasn't gonna do anymore because I stopped playing Dead by Daylight. But I'm also like, you know what? I ain't played it in a while. Maybe things have changed. Obviously. Or going back after some time, I'm going to be reset in 2 days on the 13th. But maybe let's see what's going on. First, I would like to start in the creations forum, obviously, and look at some of these reviews that we haven't been looking at. We log in right quick. There we go. Oh God, I can only imagine my inbox. Boy, on the amount of people that were like, "Hey man, can you review my things?" that I haven't even been on to check. Whoops. First, chapter concept. Take a bow by It's Dig Duck. 13 post. Now, keep in mind that I haven't played the new Dead by Daylight and haven't even been back since I did the last thing on the remix perks. So, I have no idea at all what the new standard for Dead by Daylight is. So, I'm going to do things a little bit different. And I think I'm going to talk about how it would be neat if X, Y, and Z was incorporated to the game or something like that. Basically, I'm going to do the same thing that I always do because I'm obdurate. But anyway, chapter concept Take a Bow by It's Big Duck. I had a lot of fun creating my last chapter concept, and you can check it out here on the forums called Chapter Concept, the link in the spider. So I got the idea for this one and had to create it. Enjoy. We got another magician. Weapon, Mystic Wand. I mean, not very original because we've ran across a lot of magicians and things like that. How about you make it like a showboater? Something more like, the trickster, where he has cards that he can throw, or knives and other magician y things. However, make it separate from the trickster where it's not rapid fire, but it has another stick or something that else you can use to spice it up. Because there's so many magicians and sorcerers and of the like, illusionists and all of that carry a wand that do something. The magician starts the trial with zero. The power, sorry, is ovation. The magician starts the power, or goddamn, been a while. The magician, the weapon is the mystic one. The power is ovation. The magician starts the trial with a zero ovation. Again, I don't know what ovation is, so we hope to see exactly what ovation is afterwards. And we hope to see it presented in a way to where everything is chronologically, listed and easy to understand. This meter can be seen on the right side of the screen for both the magician and the survivors in the trial. When the magician succeeds in a showmaker ability, now you've given me two terms, and you haven't explained what either of them do. The ovation meter increases up to 3 tiers of success. And what are those 3 tiers of success? And what are they going into? You've now introduced 3 things. This would be fine if this was like an overview, which is something I always hope that people put down. Because without this being part of the overview, you're talking about a power and you're not explaining exactly what this power does. It'd be different if you could, hover over each term and then it'd pop up what everything means. But you can't do that, so we would like to have everything listed exactly as things are, going down, the list and all of that. The magician may also lose ovation progress, but cannot drop below tiers 1 and 3. Once these levels have been achieved, so it's kind of like Michael Myers, sort of, except for once you get to tier 3, you're just there. But you can lose progress when you're in tier 2, which I assume you're going to be there most of the match. Or there's kind of no point in doing the 1, 2, and 3 thing. The magician loses progress by failing showmaker abilities and committing acts in a trial that causes killers to lose points on emblem. Depending on how much or how many points that you lose, that could be a bad thing because you do lose points for a various number of situations. Every time the magician gains a level of ovation for the first time per trial, on levels 1 and 2, the aura of all survivors is shown for 3 seconds. I mean, they have a perk that does that even more splendidly. When Survivor gets unhooked from the Scourge hook, I do believe it is, unless it's been changed. It shows where the Survivor's location is, but I guess if you time everything properly, you can see which gens are being pressured and whatnot. So I guess that's a good passive to have. Although you're explaining getting up in level, of ovation 1 and 2, and a passive that it has before explaining what ovation does, and all of these other abilities do. When the magician gains level 3 ovation, survivors will scream/cheer at random, no less than every 60 seconds, revealing their aura for 2 seconds. So now you just have a pinging radar that happens every 60 seconds. So you essentially have a slower doctor ability, which basically nullifies the use of using said perk. I don't know how I particularly feel about that. To be honest, having your location revealed just all the time throughout the match. But I mean, your average match used to be anywhere from like 8 to 12 minutes. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a hugely bad thing. I do recommend that you do limit the screams and all of that happening when the last generator is being worked on, touched, or done. So when it comes to the exit gates or the hatch or something, when there's one survivor left, basically, or it's the end game, you can't just basically stop that person from escaping because you know exactly where they're at. Survivors and lockers will not reveal their aura, but still scream/cheer. And then we go from special ability Showmaker, which doesn't say anything, and then goes directly into Ovation. So This isn't problem because you specifically talk about zero ovation, well, ovation in general, and you've talked about multiple terms. Showmaker, the meter increases 3 tiers of success, losing ovation progress, all of this other stuff. And the first thing you talk about is the showmaker ability, which has nothing under it. And then you eventually go straight to ovation. So this is incomplete. And like I said, it's not very chronologically ordered to give you all the information you need. And then when you scroll down, as I always hope that at the end you put some sort of patch notes or something, or somewhere in your actual creation explaining, further details and all of that. Activation time, how fast the bar goes up, how slow the bar goes, or how fast the bar goes down. Different things that, as a creator, need to be listed. Because if you don't list the animation timings and all of this other stuff, how is anybody supposed to imagine it or even implement it, even if they wanted to? So let's say behavior says this is a good idea, but you don't have any supporting information. That means they're going to take your design and they're going to have to basically build it from the ground up because there's not enough supporting information. So they might use the name or they might change the name depending on how they feel, and then completely change the way your killer was originally designed to work because you never let them know exactly how you had things planned. Or they might pass over your particular concept because of that. But I am going to continue on because I figure I would do one creation before I jump right into Dead by Daylight. Special ability is Showmaker. We have no idea what this is except for this is some sort of ability. Now, starting at Ovation 0, you got Rabbit in the Hat. The magician will start the trial by pulling a rabbit out of the hat. The rabbit is harmless but swift. Survivor spotting the rabbit will increase the ovation meter quickly up to 1. The ovation meter cannot gain progress beyond ovation 1 while using rabbit in the hat. Survivors may blind the rabbit, which will not affect ovation. The problem that you have there is a catch 22. In order to stop the rabbit from gaining ovation, you have to blind the rabbit. But in order to blind the rabbit, you have to be in front of the rabbit, giving the rabbit ovation. That is not a very good design because the survivors are going to be constantly giving you ovation, and there's no way to really stop it. Also, the killer's ovation is all based around the survivors, or not, well, the killer's ovation is based around the killer's actions and whatnot, which kind of makes that a little bit sketchy because they're. Why did my screen just update on its own? Stop that. As I was saying, survivors, I mean, there needs to be a caveat to gaining ovation. Also, without, the killer's basic information, the tear radius and things like that, I assume they're going to move at 4.6 meters per second. And I assume that the rabbit's going to move, X amount of speed, but that's, fairly fast. kind of fast on whatnot, so you can actually get ahead of survivors and force them to look at you. Secondly, what kind of cone and look are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the rabbit just being on the survivor screen, then I don't think that it should be something, quickly that builds up. And do you go off of the survivor's model or do you go off of the survivor's camera settings? Because some things are going to be incredibly hard to, do, even though level one increases, quickly. However, at the same time, it could be extremely hard on the other case to get a survivor within your cone of vision. Also, does the rabbit move on its own and just kind of jump into survivor's vision? Because if so, what's the AI going to be like? Is it going to be OP to where it just kind of pops up in front of where survivors are looking at? Is it going to be able to jump on gens, things like that, to force that looking up? Is it going to spawn randomly in front of survivors or something like that? It's sort of like a jump scare, How are you going to implement this to make this fair to the survivor while also giving the killer a fair advantage on how to do things? I do recommend making it something, targetable, to where you throw the rabbit or something like that, and if it hits a survivor, you get ovation. So it's kind of like a magic trick or something like that, but also fits into the game. And if you hit a survivor, a struggle phase and the ovation meter goes up or something like that. And if you miss, the ovation meter, goes down. Because you do state upwards that if they fail whatever trick it is, the ovation meter goes down. But there is no loss condition and ovation 0. And if you don't list, the fail options in these different ovations, then, you might as well just remove the fail option from the concept completely. On to Ovation 1, Dove Harness. The magician will stop and perform a spell to transform all crows on the map into doves. Doves will not fly off when the magician walks by them. When a survivor spooks a dove, it'll fly off to the dove cage and give a heartbeat notification. The magician may release the doves in a cage and they will return to their original locations. There will be 2 dove cages in each trial. Every spooked dove slightly increases the ovation meter. Releasing a cage with 10 or more doves will automatically grant ovation 2. Releasing a cage will not gain progress beyond ovation 2. Spooked doves will increase the ovation at a 50% rate when increasing ovation at level 2. What's going on, Yelling on them? Nice to see you. Again, there doesn't seem to be any type of fail state for these doves. The whole crux that was listed above states that if any of these fail to happen, the ovation meter goes down. So are you saying if survivors don't trigger doves, it'd have to be time-based, or sneak by doves without activating them, your ovation meter's going to go down. Also, if you're talking about survivors happen to spook, what was it, 15? 10. 10 doves. So 10 birds that have to be scared in order to get the ovation meter up. So they have to look at a rabbit, which I mean, depending on how that's implemented, all they have to do is just not look down, and you'll never get That's your base level. They also have to spook doves, which I mean anybody using, what is it, calm nature, whatever the perk's called, won't spook the doves anyway. So that's a direct counter to your particular killer. And would literally, if you're in a gank squad that's running, all of them are running that, you'll never be able to get past your dove harness phase. It says nowhere that you get ovation off of hitting any type of survivor, etc., etc. I also recommend giving your killer a secondary ability, or if something does happen, to apply pressure and deal damage and/or get ovation. Even if it's something simple as like bowing near a survivor or something. Anything to give yourself ovation. Now, there is kind of a direct contradiction as well. I'm pretty sure it states somewhere. Yeah. Well, no, I guess they separated. Releasing a cage does not grant ovation. However, spook dubs increase ovation at the 50% rate, so it is kind of different. Will it be a Monty Python rabbit that'll be pulled from the hat? Honestly, I watched Monty Python back when I was in middle school, and I barely remember a part or two from it. Only reason why is because, well, my friends were hardcore into that, and they were always, like usual. You need to watch this. You need to watch this. You need to watch this, and I really had no interest in it. So what they did is they had a sleepover, and then they put that shit on, and well, like anything else that I never want to watch and been forced to watch, I kind of sort of just blanked and never really paid attention to it. Because it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail, if I remember correctly, is the full name for that. So, unfortunately, a lot of movies that, my generation like and all of that, I just don't care for. It's the same with some of the Zelda games and the Final Fantasy games and all of that. I've played a majority of them. Well, I should say, have been forced to play a majority of them. And they're just not my cup of tea anymore because, well, I was forced to play something. It's not something I chose to do. And a lot of people are like, you don't like that? You're not a big fan of Halo? You're not a big fan of, all of this other stuff? You're weird. And I'm like, yeah, you call me weird, but I mean, if I sat you down and forced you to play something that's popular, you're not going to particularly, enjoy the full experience. On to Ovation 2. Also, what does the rabbit from Monty Python do or look like? Is he like tall and in a suit? Or like realistic? Human sized? Ovation 2 Quick Change. The magician will stop and perform a spell to shrink in size, increasing maximum base speed to 4.6. So the killer is faster by nature. I mean, slower by nature, sorry. And goes up to 4.6, which is your regular speed. So I'm going to assume the killer's a 4.4 meters per second killer, and when shrunk goes to 4.6. Which, I mean, I understand some games make smaller things move faster, but it's also like, you're a killer trying to get survivors and all of that, and you've now shrunken yourself So it's like, what are you planning on accomplishing in all of that? Making yourself a smaller size when you're supposed to be an intimidating killer. Kind of weird. The rabbit easily slaughtered many knights from what I remember. Ah, I see. Killer rabbit. Said I don't particularly remember that part, but I don't remember most of the movie. Well, would you call it a movie? As more as like, a comedy or something. Hmm. I don't know. What would you classify that as? I don't know if I'd call it specifically a movie. I mean, back in the day, everything was a movie because we didn't have technology we have today. But I don't know if I would specifically classify it as a movie. It's more than like, a comedy. I don't know. They should just say movie because it's easier. The magician may enter a locker to copy a survivor's appearance that'll last for 60 seconds or until the magician makes a basic attack. While in the quick change appearance, the magician does not have a tear radius and can work on generators and miss skill checks. So you're saying that if this killer decides to be a survivor, he's actually going to add progress to the generators. However, he can miss skill checks. I don't know if that's a good idea, adding progress, even though you can miss skill checks. Because if nothing's changed, you're not going to get a huge amount of skill checks. Unless, the game gives you incredible RNG. Unhook survivors. That's going to be kind of a problem because if you unhook a survivor and then follow them doing the old heal thing, and then you clap their cheeks immediately after their safety net's gone, that's still kind of, shameful tunneling and whatnot. So you run over, unhook a survivor, follow them, down them again, and then hook them. You're going to get a lot of rage quits and probably a lot of reports for, excessive tunneling and things like that. They're not going to go through or do anything, but, still kind of a scumbaggy thing. And your killer's going to be hated because somebody's going to make a YouTube series on it and they're going to get hundreds of thousands of views because they're going to make a trolling, survivors type of video where they unhook survivors, act like they're one of them, and then redown them. And even heal survivors. I don't know why you would want to heal particular survivors either. Still kind of weird. Especially if they receive like no type of negative or something. But I mean, if doing all of those actions increase your ovation progress, then I mean, one, that lets survivors know if they pay attention that one of you guys, ain't like the other. And two, I mean, I guess it's a clever way in increasing ovation while also, not being super OP towards survivors. Every missed skill check near a survivor while in quick change greatly increases the ovation meter. I don't know about greatly because you can heal a survivor and get a decent amount of, progress on that particular ovation meter. It says greatly, so I'm assuming, we're talking like 10, 15, 20%. Unless you go by Dead by Daylight standards, and greatly's like 3%. Who knows? It's never listed. The magician can open dove cages in quick change form, but does not spook when the magician walks by in quick change. The magician cannot interrupt survivors while in quick change. I'm assuming interrupt means like grabbing. A survivor may burn out the quick change spell with the flashlight, similar to the Wraith burn effect. Very interesting. I guess survivors will have to flashlight check other survivors in order to see if the burn effect happens, and then they're gonna be like, oh no, it's the other guy. But it's also like, why would the other person stop and attack the survivor at that point if they're trying to fake and get their ovation progress up? But I mean, if you have to be near a survivor to get the ovation progress up, if they see the bar move, if that's a thing, because it says that survivors and killer can see the ovation meter. If it starts going up, survivors are going to have to realize that whoever they're near, is evil. And they'll just have to run away from that person or accept the heal if they decide to go that route. Because, I mean, even if it's like that. Now, the problem that I have is if I'm healing a survivor and I get them close to like 99%, and then I clap their cheeks, that's like the ultimate troll that the killer, can do. And that's what you're going to have to worry about is the troll scenarios where somebody heals you, gets you, ovation out of it, and then downs you again. All ovation progress is lost to ovation 1 if the magician is revealed. That, again, I can't really say is a good idea because you have to be near a survivor to get ovation progress. If a survivor flashlight checks you and you end up getting burned, you just lost all of your progress. Again, kind of a catch-22 situation. You got to be near survivors failing skill checks, which is an obvious sign that, you're evil. If you're near a survivor and you fail a skill check, they're going to immediately flashlight you. And there goes all of your ovation progress. You're also going to get burned, which means you're going to probably be stunned off that burn, like it says the Wraith is. So, I mean, how are you supposed to get by, especially in like the iridescent ranks when survivors aren't really missing skill checks? So I would recommend a system overworked to where, as long as you're doing survivor like actions and nobody, sees you, your ovation meter will go up fairly quickly. Because it's going to be near impossible to get this quick change effect. Especially in iridescent when they're flashlight checking everybody, things like that. And then encore. The magician will stop and perform a time rewound spell. All action survivors are made in the last 30 seconds will be undone at an accelerated rate, excluding unhooks. This includes healing, working on holy working on generators, generators being completed, and movement. If a survivor were using an item, it would be further depleted. If there are not enough charges, the item will be fully depleted. If survivors were unhooked during this time, they would be rewound to the hook but standing in front of it. After the time rewind, survivors not holding an item will stop and clap/cheer for 5 seconds, which can be heard by the magician up to 24 meters away. Once encore has ended, the magician will retain a permanent maximum base speed of 4.6, regular killer speed. Note, if using the add-on Debunked Illusion, the magician MBS, whatever that stands for, movement base speed, I suppose, will still change in accordance to ovation level. I mean, obviously, there are a huge amount of usage and problems when you get to encore and do all of these stealth actions and all of these other things, all of these caveats to get an encore. you expect something amazing to happen, but I don't think rewinding 30 seconds worth of, well, basically gen progress is worthwhile. I assume you can activate Encore whenever you want. So, I mean, I guess if the final generator gets done, you can reset it like 30 seconds and possibly, pressure that gen or something to kind of save your hide. But it's also like, besides the couple of niche things, it's not going to be super great. Now, it does become super OP if you can hold on to that ability towards the end of the match. If they're opening up an exit gate, you can rewind it to where the exit gate's not being done. So if you go to the wrong exit gate, you do a hardy rewind, and then you go to the other exit gate or something like that. Or if somebody's standing over the hatch or running towards the hatch, you can rewind them and get to the hatch first. Same with last generator. If they complete the last generator, you can rewind it to not being done, pressure it, things like that. So it kind of has its like super OP uses, but it also becomes pointless if you don't save it to the end of the game. So once the ovation meter is, full, you get the extra, I'm going to assume, zero point 0.2 meters per second. And that's kind of the only thing you get from this. I mean, the 5 seconds of cheering, if you're by a survivor, cool. But if you're not, it's kind of, irrelevant. So besides, again, what I'm assuming is zero point 0.2 meters per second speed, you're not really getting much off of, completing the encore. You're also not getting much for completing all of these different tiers. Again, Michael Myers being one of the tiered killers is very good, inspiration to take things for. He gets a lot out of tiering up. And each tier helps, the second tier do whatever, it is that you need to do. And he also plays off of his tier system to get different abilities via add ons. So it would be nice to get a little more for having to do all of these caveats, which is going to take forever. Because as you're doing these caveats, most likely you're going to have to refrain from attacking because you're going to be trying to complete all of these challenges. But if you don't attack on the same course, survivors are going to be just completing generators, and you're going to be losing time and pressure that you have during the game. So the entirety of this killer is kind of a huge catch 22, and the payoff at the end's not worth giving up all of that time. Because you're going to be giving up more than 30 seconds worth of time, I assure you, trying to get done all of these caveats that you have. So, I mean, you should definitely get more time back, but if you give back too much time, then you're going to have, a lot more issues. So, balancing this is going to be a pain in the butt, a pain in the tuchus. Add-ons, there are way too many to go over, so I'm going to leave that to that. Plus, as I always say, as you change the main concept, the add-ons are going to be subject to change anyway. Perks. Oh, there's a survivor. Gotcha. Copperfield's Curse. Hitting a survivor with a surprise attack will cause them to become exhausted for a short time. So if you're in the phase where you shrink, because I don't necessarily remember, because I took my medicine today. I'm gonna say doppelganger form, the little shrink form. You can get a lot of surprise attacks because you're able to hit survivors. You just can't grab them. Making them exhausted for however much a short time is could be usable because it's a sort of fearmonger effect. But on the same thing, you do have the perk fearmonger to where you don't have to survive or surprise a survivor. If they're working on a gen, they got that, I think, 5 seconds worth of effect that if a survivor doesn't stop running and letting that timer go down, they've lost all their exhaustion perks. So this is kind of a harder to get fearmonger, and it doesn't say what a short time is. So only thing I can compare the time to is fearmonger. Now you don't. Survivors, and again, that's if fearmonger hasn't changed. Now you don't. Survivors missing a skill check will cause them to become pacified for 20 seconds. Is pacified a new thing or what? Now, if he's talking about incapacitated for 20 seconds, that's kind of brutal. And also, does it apply to the killer? I assume not, but if you're transformed into a survivor state, where do you go from there? Obviously, you're to be a counter for the killer, so I'm going to assume that it doesn't affect them, but still. So, I mean, you can mix this with like Sadako's perk or something like that, but that's also kind of brutal. But I mean, I see that, it's completely fine to have a particular perk like that. And it's specifically going to be useless when it comes to iridescent ranks and things like that, because they rarely miss skill checks. So I don't see it becoming, a huge amount. Now, the only time that I see it being a huge problem is if a survivor is forced to let go of a generator when a killer is nearby. So I would add in the effect that, if the killer is within X amount of meters, this perk doesn't, become active. Because that'd be the worst feeling is, the killer coming around the corner and you getting a skill check and letting go as the killer comes around the corner. Because we all know that Dead by Daylight likes to do that. And you end up blowing a gen or something and getting the incapacitated status effect. Now, it shouldn't affect most of the base game, but you never know. If you get hit or something and you're dropping pallets and trying to heal at the same time, or, trying to, keep that pressure on, things like that, it's stopping you from, doing your small actions like that, which I mean could specifically be the whole purpose of that, but still. I could see some interactions where it could be considered unfair. But I mean, the new Dead by Daylight system, at least what I played in the beta, seemed to be based around being unfair for survivors and really giving the killers a huge amount of bonuses to get people to play killer more. Stop! I don't know if you guys can see the virtual keyboard popping up on my screen, but it's starting to drive me a little bit insane. I mean, I'm doing it to myself, but still, Jesus. And then, presto, survivors completing a great skill check while healing will reveal their aura to the killer for 5 seconds. That is interesting, but very heavily, counterable. You can't see it. I'm glad, because it kept popping up on my screen. It's my controller doing that, and it was just like bing as I'm trying to read and look at things. It's like bing, 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 and I'm like, come on, man. So, I mean, presto can be countered by just not getting great skill checks. I mean, that's not, anything that specifically, needs to be added to this. But I mean, every killer, I guess, has a meh perk, and that's what that one will be. Now, really, none of these except for the first one actually supplements, the killer. Surprise attacks, very easy to get with the killer. Now, you don't, not really relevant to what the killer does. And presto, not really relevant to what, the killer does. So you need to, in my opinion, readjust the last two perks and make them, support your killer better and what he's trying to do. Now you get base movement speed way down here towards the end. You got 4 meters per second, which is interesting because you're moving at the same speed as survivors. So, how are you going to be expected to even, take down survivors if you're moving the same speed as them? So, huh. That's a very moment. Survivor sees you, they can literally just run and outspace you. So as long as you're, not cutting corners or anything, you're gonna have a problem. There's people that can loop, a 4.4 meters per second killer by just running around objects and things like that. Imagine having the same speed as a survivor, but being stuck in first person. That's gonna be horrible. Trying to get all of that done. Something's kind of flashing on screen, so I guess I could see some change. Interesting. Well, hopefully it didn't blind anybody. Well, I guess specifically you. Then we had 2A, a survivor. uh, Dexter Fields. We skip down a little bit. His personal perks: search and rescue, lookout, and storm chaser reflect on his ability to perform well under pressure in dire situations. That is literally a generic survivor description that you see a lot when people don't really want to think about, exactly, what to put down as their survivor. That's a generic one. Treat it like your baby. Give your survivor as much attention and all of that as you give your killer. Don't slack it. Search and rescue. Start the trial with 3 tokens. Anytime another survivor in the injured or dying state would have their aura revealed to the killer, consume a token. The survivor's aura is hidden from the killer and instead revealed to you. You may replenish tokens up to 5 in the killer's tear radius, increasing healing speed on dying survivors by 200% while you have at least 1 token. Well, the problem with that is, especially the ending sentence, is you're going to be forced to have your aura revealed every 60 seconds. So, there's no way for you to have a reliable. Oh, you may replenish tokens up to 5 in the killer's tear radius. Doesn't say how long, but it's going to be very unreliable to actually use the ending thing. Unless the killer, is heading towards you from a distance or something like that, and they manage to give you a token as they're approaching. You can kind of finish up the heal and they can pop around. Or if the killer's going for slugging or something like that, I suppose it can be useful. But I mean, again, every 60 seconds when they get ovation, etc., etc., and any type of perks that they run can easily reveal you enough, or everybody enough, to where you're going to just eat tokens. For example, if somebody runs barbecue and chili and everybody gets tagged, or they run, lethal pursuer at the beginning, yes, it's kind of a hard counter for lethal pursuer, which I mean makes the perk decent. But a barbecue and chili, or the perk that allows you to see survivors' locations after an unhook or something like that, or even the dredge just opening up a locker, that perk immediately just eats up all of your tokens immediately. Oh, wait, second, is that a perk? Kenobi High Ground perk, the second one. I don't know what Kenobi High Ground is. Is that a another concept that I didn't review? Well, look out. Anytime you're on a higher elevation than the killer, their oral aura will be revealed to you for 5 seconds. This perk cannot activate in the first 60 seconds of the trial. Why not? Because, I mean, oh, I was just referring to Star Wars quote. Gotcha. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. I mean, I've seen the meme of that, but again, Star Wars is kind of one of the things that I was forced to watch, so again, after the first Star Wars, which I still didn't pay much attention to, I never watched the Star Wars again. So I kind of missed out on that series. Apparently, a lot of people were like, yeah. Same as with Game of Thrones and a lot of other popular things. I just, never really watched. I have seen the Anakin, I have the higher ground meme, though, a couple of times. Now I know where it comes from. The higher elevation to a killer, depending on what a higher elevation is, you can literally cheese the perk by just walking up a hill or a small ramp or something like that and getting value out of that. So it's kind of a odd thing. But I mean, there is the spine chill. Well, spine chill's kind of bad now, so never mind. It's hmm. I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad at the same time because you generally know who the killer's chasing because, well, they take injured states and all of that. If the killer's nowhere near you, then it's kind of irrelevant to know where the killer is, especially for 5 second increments every 90 seconds. You'll be able to use it a couple of times in a trial, but it's like it's not good unless you're at like end game, so you can see where the killer's at and you know which exit gate to go to, and you can check and do things like that to kind of pressure the killer. But besides being, at like your last gen, again, at the end game, last gen, opening an exit gate, or even possibly looking for hatch, it's kind of like it really doesn't have a huge amount of uses. And then killers with undetectable status will be revealed for 1 second. So any killer that has that, is kind of a hard counter to that. And they also don't have a huge amount of time. So if you're not looking in their direction, that 1 second's gonna go by super quick. And then Storm Chaser. Anytime you perform a skill check in the killer's tear radius, the size of the great skill check box is increased by 50%, but the bonus is reduced by 20%. Well, a 20% bonus decrease isn't going to do much because the bonus is super small. So, I mean, you're not really affecting it that much. But, all right, sure. But since the bonus is so small, you're kind of getting rid of the skill check, at least the sound check warning or sound warning. I am launching Dead by Daylight in the background. It's generally loud as hell. So this is your warning to turn your sound down. This is your sound warning. So the last perk, I don't know if it's really worthwhile using, but again, meh perks. So it kind of is what it is. That is the chapter concept Take a Bow by It's Big Duck. We hop in here. Hopefully it captures Dead by Daylight appropriately. Looks like it is. Deafness status effect incoming. Adjust the sound a little bit. I actually have a couple of codes that I can input. I think I put it on this one. No, that was for free. Pizza. Where did I put those codes? There they are. In Polish, I saw the name Brain of the Operation. uh, how is Wesker called in English, DBD? We just call him Wesker. Albert Wesker. Photosensitivity. Oh, they finally have an epileptic seizure warning and all of that. That's like, 7 years overdue. Actually, like longer than that, actually. English, Wesker is just Wesker, as far as I know. Just kind of a name. It doesn't have any, like, brain or anything like that, any other definition. Store. Redeem code. That gives me the cold weather cocoon for a character that I don't have. I'm pretty sure. And then I have a second code. All of these come from just having which prompt. No, I deleted it. Edit undo. And the mating guard for the plague, which I do not own. We got old Wesker and whatnot. As much as I would like to buy old Wesker, I'm not. Shrine of Secrets. Dance with Me, already have. Discordance, meh. No my who in the world would ever buy No Mither out of the Shrine of Secrets? You were trolling me. Zanshin Tactics. I'm assuming the Oni, yeah. You are meant to alert and aware of key points on the battlefield. The ores of pallet, breakable walls, and vault locations are revealed to you. Interesting. Masterman. I was looking for that DBD name in the game. Yeah, it sounds better. Definitely. We will play as Survivor, because apparently there's a bonus, because everybody's probably playing Wesker. And if I'm thinking about... Definitely don't want to go to RPD. If I'm thinking about countering Wesker, oof. I guess it would be a Gen Rush type of strategy. I'm not going to install a brand new part because I ain't played this game in forever. We'll go High Mist, which is probably going to put us in an indoors map because this game likes to troll me. And we'll do that. I also have an absurd amount of blood points. So, that's sadness. Woo! I haven't touched Dead by Daylight in a long time, to be honest. I don't want to play a survivor, and I don't want the stress of a killer. Or too stressed as a killer. I know that feeling. Because well, this is also bronze rank. So some of these people that I'm playing with, it could be their first match as far as I know. Well, obviously, Leon, it ain't his first match, but this David King has no rank at all. And this Kate Denson has no rank at all. So, you never know. I was focused on a lot of in real life stuff. So maybe I will finally post something on forum because I have a few idea sheets that just lies in my PC for months. I just don't have the drive to finish it when I don't touch the game. I know that feeling. Oh, it's the dredge. After going through all of that, it's all that other stuff, I just can't find it in myself to put forth the effort to catch up on everything, especially when I don't agree with most of it, and continue to make content for it. It's just like, it's not that great. Doesn't make me happy. Makes me extremely sad, and I'm just like, some things that they changed didn't need a change. I understand trying to get people away from the meta perks and all of that, but I think they went about the wrong way. But again, at the end of the day, it's just my particular opinion. And the player base, probably has already said their what for on it. Alright. Give me that clapping. Hello, whatever your name is, Kate. Damn. There's not going to be a gin in there. I know better. I'm going to see if there's any more gins on the street and start working on them. If we can get these done quickly enough, we don't have to worry about it. Also, it keeps me away from lockers, so the dredge can't immediately clap my cheeks. And also, this camera is kind of ridiculous. He's definitely new. Or trolling. One of the two. Don't tell me the first game back. Oh, he's chasing after David. I was about to say, don't tell me the first game back I got a troll killer. We're good. Can't wait for Deception plays. If I still have it anymore. Is that a boon totem I seen or heard? Yeah, it was. Hey, bruh. Chill out. Chill out. My cheeks. My cheeks. My cheeks. Oh. Well, I did that to myself. I'm trash? Leon, no. You can't do this to me, Leon. Whew. How I survived that is beyond me. Leon tried to get me killed, though. Also, I might just... Ooh, Circle of Healing. I might just dump this toolbox on that gin. I was gonna save it for the final gin to get it done quickly. But this killer seems to be fairly new at the game as well. Damn, I wish the stream was smooth. Yeah, I don't know how to fix it. Because that would have been decent content. But, Also, when the heck... Oh, never mind. Bruh. Ow. Oh, cheeks have been thoroughly clapped. I also showed him what the boon totem was. I regret coming down here. Really? How do you lose me? Still gonna stay to the end of this game though before I go to sleep. In DBD reviews it's fine, but in gameplay it becomes problematic. Yeah, it's because of the because of the bit rate. For whatever reason, my OBS is set to a higher bit rate than it's supposed to be. And I can't fix it. And I don't want to uninstall and reinstall it because, well, I don't want to lose all of my scenes and whatnot. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Ooh, I was hoping this gin was here. Just use the toolbox. Even though it's kind of a waste, because he's probably not going to come down here. It would give us way too much time. Looks like that's locked. Actually, that's not locked. It doesn't matter, though. I kind of want him to teleport down here. Because it wastes a lot of time coming down into the basement. We already got 2 gens done. Kind of amazing. Especially having the new guy being David. Who named himself David King 05, by the way. I'm gonna get tagged by that locker now that I think about it. He's gonna know I'm down here. I guess that effect now shows that it's becoming nighttime and how long. That's interesting. Gamer expert. I don't know about that, Chief. Why'd you put Boone so far? Alright, we got 1 left. I was like, why do I hear boss music? I now know why I hear boss music. I was good taking that hit, though. Taking that hit saved my teammates' life because they were on their last hook. So it was kind of worthwhile. I don't necessarily agree where they decided to heal at, though. Soul for soul. He's right there, Leon. He's literally right there. Okay, dude. I wanted to say that I saw Dead by Daylight created perk that can stop the hooking timer. Is that right? It reminds me of a certain forum topic. Indeed. Indubitably. But yeah, that forum is still fresh in my mind. How many people didn't understand what you were talking about. And I am pretty sure that there is a perk that does do that now. Oh, I still have adrenaline. You son of a nut. No, don't! I didn't want to hard jump that. Yeah. I see that you put down. I'm going to drop every pallet that I can. No, he didn't hit me, bro. Oh well, they should get out. I should have jumped that window. You better not have a Mori, you son of a gun. I think I will post quickly the reminder in Dead by Daylight form that kinship exists. That's hilarious. Open the gate! Open the gate! What are you doing? Open the gate! Just open the gate, bro! Open the gate! Bruh. If he would have just opened the damn gate, we could have started crawling out and pressuring the killer. I'm so upset. What has just happened? Thank you. Oh my god. Gotta say thank you to that, because Jesus. Whew. Not only would opening the gate be a better play, because if I started crawling out, he would be forced to pick me up. Maybe I would have died, maybe I would have escaped, but if he would have left the guys on the hook alone, they would have the invulnerability frames to get out because of the new system. So maybe they escaped, maybe they didn't, but I mean, definitely should have just kept me on the ground and just opened the gate to pressure the killer. I think we might have gotten a three-piece there, because the killer probably just face camped after both of us escaped, but you know, it's what it is. I escaped. Do not search. Alright, well, that is going to be the Dead by Daylight stream, because, well, the bit rate is still completely and totally terrible, so, ooh. Not gonna lie, it was tense even with lags, pretty much. That was indeed. I can't believe I actually got out of that alive. That's absurd. Hopefully it didn't come through too terribly lag. Oh, now it's green and it's where it's supposed to be. I'm so angry about this bit rate. Honestly, I should have just streamed directly to YouTube and just used my poppy staticky mic and done things that way just to get past this high latency or whatever. Again, OBS just like literally updated its systems for me, and when I did the update, it was a mistake because it's just terribly bad for my particular computer. The bit rate goes wherever it wants to go, and I don't have dynamic or automatically, you know, clicked, so it should be set hard to where it's supposed to be. So I don't know why I'm having these issues, and I don't know how to fix it because there's no forums or anything with anybody that had this particular problem. Because most people are like, just update your plugins and all of that, and it's fine. And I'm like, I don't have any plugins to update. You know, everything's exactly where it's supposed to be. So I just don't know. Everything worked fine, you know, until the update. I downgraded my graphics card because that could have been the issue, you know. I went and reinstalled everything except for OBS. I fixed and got rid of updated or plugins and all of that. I don't know. But either way, that is the end of the stream. Hope you enjoyed. And I guess I will see you next time. Supplement your lifestyle. And that is it.
It's kind of funny how League of Legends is seen as a toxic game, but as long as they keep making
content, we will